What's up, everybody? Early Bird Podcast, and don't adjust your dials. Yes, solo Josh show for the Early Bird. The rest of the crew, and I mean the rest of the crew, just about everybody that is an employee at Awesemo.com is doing a mock draft tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. No one will see this until I say it, but it will be posted on our YouTube channel. It will be live. The whole staff is getting together and doing an NFL fantasy football mock draft. So check that out. If you listen to this in the morning, it'll be posted on the YouTube channel. This is the Early Bird. The promo code is Early Bird. If you want to get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus, go ahead and enter that promo code when signing up. Get 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. If you've ever wanted to check us out, now is the perfect time with football season upon us. And I have to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Yahoo Sports. Yahoo is changing the game. They're running no management fee contests every single day. The contest fills generally around noon Eastern time. So if you can't get into it, $3 entry. You want to get there early. We have all of the information with regards to signing up at Yahoo in Emacs Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article that's posted every single morning, sometimes the night before. If you click the link in his article, use the promo code AWESEMO, you can get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. In my opinion, it is the place that you should be starting your day every single day if you are looking to play DFS and you play a relatively small volume. Their contest selection is better. You don't have to go up against 150 lineups. No management fee contest. They have 33% payout contest. So the payouts are a little bit flatter, much better for the user. Highly, highly recommended. So what I'm going to do, take a look at the early slate or slates for tomorrow. We won't have the normal strategy show at 9:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. We are going to do a show from 11 o'clock until noon, up until the FanDuel lock, covering these the early slate. It'll be myself and Adam. So no strategy show in the morning. It's going to be a pseudo live before lock, but we're only going to the FanDuel lock because we can't have nice things on early slates. DraftKings is doing an 8-game slate, and that starts at 1 o'clock. FanDuel's doing a 5-game very early slate and a 4-game early slate. That one starts at 2. So FanDuel's lock is at noon and 2. DraftKings lock is at 1. Got to keep everybody on their toes. I'm just going to talk about everybody sort of in bulk. And then, at least from a pitching perspective, we'll hit on some of what I expect to be the top stacks, some of their run totals, and then we'll get out of here. As you can see, if you're looking at the screen right now, a couple studs in terms of arms going for tomorrow's slate. We've got Garrett Cole going for the Astros. That's a 2 o'clock start against the Rockies. Game is in Houston. I think he is very clearly the best pitcher of anybody that's playing during the day. I am anticipating having a ton. Have him projected for 9.7 strikeouts right now, so just shy of 10. It's usually a good benchmark for knowing someone has broken away from the pack. He's Garrett Cole. I don't really know what else I can say. Colorado rather, has been absolutely dreadful away from Coors. They have been absolutely dreadful against righties all year. Cole striking out 40% of batters, 40% of lefties over the past 2 seasons, 30% of righties. I see absolutely nothing to worry about. I assume he'll be popular, although the 11.8 price tag on FanDuel might be a little bit of a tough sell, particularly in the only 4 games that exist in that slate. On DraftKings, Cole is 11.9. Now, that will encompass the entire slate. So he's still my guy. 11.9 is a big price tag, but I like him that much more than the next guy I'm going to talk about. Next guy, Mike Clevinger. Clevinger going for the Indians, a 1 o'clock start. If I update the screen here, taking on the Rangers. 4.6 run implied total for those Indians, 3.3 for the Rangers. So Clevinger, a pretty sizable favorite. He's got a really big price tag, though. On FanDuel, you get the 5 games. I think Clevenger is pretty clearly the best option on FanDuel's very early slate. But I'm a little nervous about him at that price on DraftKings at 11-1. I think the gap between Cole and Clevenger is pretty massive, a lot bigger than the $800 that this is showing. It's tricky. I think Clevenger's a fantastic pitcher. The problem is he's not really going deep enough into games, and that is limiting him here because I think I expect Garrett Cole to go, 6 2/3, 7. Anything north of that is very reasonable. Clevenger has the stuff, 30% K rate against righties, a little bit lower against lefties, but he's a fantastic pitcher. I'm just not sure that 11-1 is the right price tag for him, especially on a shorter slate. If you get him on a day like today when there's 15 games available, I think it's a little bit more reasonable to go all the way up to Clevenger. But tomorrow, at that price, limited amount of bats to be had, I think it's probably easier to drop down a little bit more on DK. I don't get the sense that he'll have a ton of ownership. I'll mostly be ignoring him for Cole. FanDuel, on the other hand, Clevenger on that 5 game early, he's going to have to be that guy and would certainly be my cash game pick. Only other option at the top is going to be Lance Lynn. Lynn going up against Clevenger, actually. Not the best spot in the world just because of having Clevenger on the opposite side, but Lynn is good. He's become a very different pitcher. 30% K rate against righties over the past 2 seasons. Not as successful against lefties, but it's not as if the Indians have been some incredible offense. I would say that they have underperformed. Just pulling up their stats against lefties right now, so I might be talking out of my bum. We will find out shortly. I normally am, but we shall see. Strikeout rate for the active roster of the Indians this season, pretty low. So not a great matchup, but they haven't been fantastic. They've been about average. And again, Lance Lynn is being priced like an ace in a matchup where he is a dramatic underdog. I'm having a hard time wanting to pay up, at least on DraftKings, for anybody other than Garrett Cole. Now, on FanDuel, where the choice is between Clevenger and Lynn, I think it's pretty easily Clevenger. Just being on a better team, being in a better strikeout matchup, having a better chance at the win, potentially having a shot at the quality start here on FanDuel if things are going well for Clevenger. Really hard to ignore all of that. I can't imagine wanting to spend the 10-9 on Lynn on FanDuel with Clevenger there for the early. So that would be a spot that I would be skipping. Clevenger would be that guy. Other guys that I'd be looking at on FanDuel, Jack Flaherty at 8,900, Cardinals at the Dodgers. Scary spot. You're going to have to not pay attention to that game during the day. Anytime you're facing the Dodgers, you're going to be pretty nervous. But Flaherty isn't somebody that gets absolutely bombed. A 144 xISO against lefties over the past 2 seasons, 130 against righties, strikeout rate in the 25 to 33% range, depending on the hand. So he's equipped to deal with the power. Dodgers only have a 4.6 run implied total as of right now. So I think that he can get there. But there's obviously a lot of risk because the talent on the Dodgers side is really hard to ignore. Only other guy that I would have some interest in on the FanDuel side, this would again be on the early. Brendan McKay. It's tough. He's 6,700 on FanDuel. I like that pay down option. The Rays are pretty sizable favorites. They've got a run total north of 5, 64% likelihood to win. Blue Jays are sub 4, which is a pretty good spot. There are some strikeouts to be had in the Toronto lineup. McKay has had some struggles. He's given up a lot of power to righties. It doesn't play totally. His xISO is a lot lower. He hasn't given up much power to lefties, but you would have expected it. So I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'm willing to take a shot on him as a pay down option just because I find pitching pretty limited on FanDuel tomorrow. Now on DraftKings, if we need to start thinking about SP2s, Flaherty is sitting there at 9,400. Again, I think that's okay. It's not a spot that I'm particularly excited about if I have the ability to get to Cole or Clevenger. I would probably prefer Flaherty to Lance Lynn, but that one's tough. Again, you've got to deal with those Dodgers bats. McKay at 8,500 is just too expensive on DraftKings. I'll have some shares, but I see him as much less of a priority here at that price tag. The more likely scenario is that I'm going to drop all the way down to potentially Martin Perez. Twins, basically in a coin flip game against the Braves. Perez was better at the beginning of this season. It's tailed off a little bit. Just not a strikeout guy. 18% Ks over the last 2 years against lefties, just 16.5 against righties. Lefties don't hit him at all. He has a little bit of struggles with righties. I'm going to pull up Braves stats right now against lefties and see how they've been this year. It wouldn't shock me to see that they have been lethal. They are a fantastic offense after all. But 24.9 K rate. That is higher than average by a significant margin. That should help Martin Perez a little bit. There's certainly pop there, though. Big time ISO. They've been a better than average team against lefties, but the strikeouts could be there. At 6,100, I think I'm willing to take that risk against Atlanta. There's just not a lot at the bottom to like. You could look at Max Fried, $400 more on the opposite side. The Twins, not a big strikeout rate against lefties. Equally impressive power, and they have been the biggest lefty mashers in the league behind the Astros, a 126 weighted runs created plus. So I do think that Fried might be a little bit of a tough sell. Given the matchups between the two, I think I would lean more towards Perez. I don't really plan on paying down for Sean Anderson or Peter Lambert. It looks like Gaviglio is going to be going for the Blue Jays. It's not a spot I want to be. So I think the floor for me is probably Tyler Alexander at 5,900. He gets a date with the White Sox. Both the Tigers and the White Sox are bad against both hands. They both strike out a lot. Tyler Alexander, not exactly a fun pitcher to roster. He's not very good, but anytime the White Sox and Tigers are going to get together, I at least have to give it some thought. Alexander has been pretty successful in his limited sample against lefties, but righties have touched him up a little bit. So if you are looking to take Tyler Alexander, be ready to roster someone like Jose Abreu or Eloy Jimenez, something in that vein. But I think that Martin Perez is probably the guy that I like the most at SP2 on DK. He's actually 6,800 on FanDuel and will be a part of the early slate. I don't think that's crazy, especially if you're not the biggest Brendan McKay fan. You can easily go to Perez there, but on the early, you're looking to prioritize Mike Clevenger. That's really my look at arms tomorrow. It's a tale of two separate slates. I want to get as much Garrett Cole as I possibly can. He has a chance to really break the slate. You know, I have him at 26.9 DK points. 35 is not outside of the realm of possibility. He hits his target score 50% of the time for me, so he's a guy that I just can't avoid. GPPs, cash games, whatever you want, I got to get to Cole. We could take a look quickly at some of the offensive environments that we'll see. I'll just hit on every single game from top to bottom that will encompass both slates. If you're watching this on YouTube, though, perfect opportunity to hit the like button for me. Give it a subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. The Wednesday schedule for Awesemo, as I mentioned at the top, Adam and I will be live at 11 a.m. Eastern, going till noon. God, already forgot it. We will then have the deep dive at 5 o'clock. That will be just Laffy and Alex. Adam not going to be able to make that one. And then at 6 p.m., live before lock, myself, Chris Spags, taking you all the way up to 7. And then Ben Rasa and Jason Roslin, 9 p.m. Eastern. They will be talking the Northern Trust PGA show live before lock. So check all of that stuff out we've got going tomorrow. But for now, Let's hit quickly on the offenses and some thoughts, a little bit of thoughts on each game. So Mets and Marlins is the first game. It's a 12-10 start. This is only on the early FanDuel slate. Mets with a 4.9 run implied total. Marlins 3.6. 65% chance to win for the Mets. It's Steven Matz versus Jordan Yamamoto. Yamamoto is supposed to have gone today, which is Tuesday. Did not make that start. Got bumped to today. From a hitting perspective, I find these teams to be. I'm gonna drop this into my summary sheet just to make sure I'm not talking crazy here, but I don't get the sense that either one of them are going to be flying to the top. So as of right now, I'm just going to speak overall of the 18 teams that are on this slate. The Mets grade out as my 13th best team. The Marlins are dead last at 18th. Matz is a solid enough pitcher. The Marlins are absolutely putrid. They've got a 3.6 run implied total, one of the lower on the slate. They don't have any bats on FanDuel that I'm particularly interested in rostering outside of maybe Garrett Cooper, 2,600. But the catcher first base slot is so deep that it's a pretty tough sell. The only real benefit is the fact that Matz gives up power to righties. So if you want to look at Cooper or Anderson, I get it. On the Mets side, I respect Yamamoto. I don't have a ton of interest in grabbing any Mets bats. Pete Alonso is always in play, but at 3,900, what are we really looking for? My expectation is that I'm fading this entire game for any sort of ownership. Indians and Rangers, I touched on before. That is Mike Clevinger and Lance Lynn. 4.6 runs for the Indians, 3.3 for the Rangers. The Indians currently grade out as my number 7 stack. The Rangers are 13th. It's really hard for me to recommend either side of this from an offense perspective just because I have so much respect for both pitchers. You're welcome to try and target some individual bats if you're looking to make a power play. Lynn doesn't really get hit all that hard. Doesn't really have any trouble with power on either side. So I would probably just stick with the talent. I would look to Francisco Lindor, and that's about it. Yasiel Puig at 3,100 is interesting. Franmil Reyes at 2,700 is interesting, but it's really hard to get excited about a team going up against Lance Lynn. For Clevinger, his only real worry is going to be lefty power. So if you've got some money for Chu, I think that's viable. Nomar Mazara, Rougned Odor. But again, I don't see either one of these teams as teams that I want to stack up with any regularity. Rays and Jays, it's 5.2 runs for the Rays, 3.8 for the Jays, 64% chance to win for Tampa. Tampa, my 13th ranked stack. The Blue Jays are 12th. Again, not a lot of offense. I'm surprised that I don't like the Rays more than I do, but just a testament to where some of the offense is on the rest of the slate. You can easily target the Blue Jays or target the Rays against the Jays. Gaviglio got bombed in his first start back. Pulling up his numbers now. Over the past 2 seasons, 189 x ISO to lefties, 169 to righties. So there's definitely some appeal, but these guys are expensive. Pham at 3,800, Austin Meadows 4,100, Eric Sogard at 3,600. These are FanDuel prices right now, but just looking at both FanDuel and DK, I'm not getting the sense that I'm going to be on either side of this game. I'll probably be more likely to pick people off with one-offs. So if I'm looking at prices that stand out most to me, probably Ji-Man Choi if he is leading off. On the Blue Jays side, I think Gurriel looks okay. Justin Smoke, 3,600 on DraftKings as a first base option. Little bit of appeal to me if Brendan McKay can't get it going. Smoke's been better from the left side than the right side in his career, but that doesn't mean that he can't take McKay deep. Gurriel would probably be the guy. Guerrero as well at 4,500, but that's probably a little bit pricier than I'm looking for on this slate. Ultimately, this is, again, 2 teams that I don't expect to stack up all that often. The Rays are good, but they're not like a knockdown home run team. They have above average power, but they don't have the same elite power that we'll see in some of these other teams. Tigers and White Sox is a coin flip game. We're looking at something in the 4.7 run implied total range. Neither pitcher particularly scary. I'd like to go at Tyler Alexander with righties. I would like to go at Ivan Nova with whatever you can find because he's bad. I like the White Sox quite a bit here. A lot of that has to do with their pricing. I went with the lineup from the early game on Tuesday. This lineup could look a lot different, but again, you want righties. Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, Tim Anderson. If Wellington Castillo happens to be catching again tomorrow and he's still priced super low on DraftKings, like 2,100 like he was today, sign me up for that. They're a tough sell as a full stack because there's so little power everywhere, but I really do like the righties of Anderson, Abreu, and Jimenez. On the Tigers side, I think that you can get sort of anyone you want in that. Nova isn't very good, and this entire Tigers lineup doesn't look all that appealing. But when push comes to shove, this is not a very good team. They grade out 16th, and I can't really imagine wanting any specific Tiger now that Nick Castellanos isn't here. Twins and Braves, another coin flip game. We're looking at about 5 runs apiece. It's Perez and Fried. Braves coming in as my number 2 stack overall. Twins 14th. So while I do get the sense that Perez is viable as a paydown option for an SP2, there is a lot to like for Atlanta. Again, Perez's issues are going to come with righty power. So we're going to be looking at Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Josh Donaldson, Adam Duvall, Austin Riley, Johan Camargo better from the right side than the left side. Freddie Freeman will probably not get a ton of ownership at his price tag on both sites, but I have no issue going lefty-lefty there. He's going to face someone else eventually. I'm anxious to see where their ownership ends up. They're not the cheapest stack in the world, but only Freeman and Acuna are in the 5Ks on DK. They're both in the 4s on FanDuel. I really like getting to the righties for Atlanta, but I will have my share of Martin Perez as an SP2. From the Twins side, the power is always there, but they are so expensive. $5,500 Mitch Garver, $5,700 Nelson Cruz, who deserves it, by the way. Kepler in a lefty-lefty matchup. You can pick off some of the righties. Cruz I expect to be popular even at that price tag, but I'm more likely to stack up the Braves than the Twins. We keep it moving. Astros and Rockies. Now we're into the 2 o'clock games. 5.6 run implied total for the Stros. Just 2.9 for the Rockies. A 76% chance to win for Garrett Cole. Rockies are my 9th best stack. That is higher than I would have expected. They just have some individual power bats that could play. Blackmon, Murphy, Ryan McMahon to an extent. I will not be stacking up the Rockies, though. Garrett Cole is everything on tomorrow's slate. I just can't recommend really wanting to go to any Colorado bats. They've been so bad on the road. Today is just not going to be that day, or today or tomorrow, depending on when you're listening to this. And then for the Houston bats, Peter Lambert's just been getting smacked around. 204 x ISO against lefties. Only a 113 x ISO against righties, but a 214 regular ISO. So there's something to be found there. Astros are my number 1 stack across both sites. They are the most talented team on the slate. Lambert is bad. Everyone in the Astros lineup is good. At the very least, they're average. I will be paying up for every single bat. I love Springer. I really, really like Yordan Alvarez. Alex Bregman at 4,900 or 3,900. Another fantastic play, especially with dual eligibility. Grab all the Astros you can. They are pretty clearly my top team. I wouldn't even bat an eye at really excessive exposure. Just get yourself some Astros, people. That's easy. 3 more games to touch on quickly, and then we'll get out of here. Cubs and A's. 5 runs for the Cubs, 4 for the A's, a 60-40 game. I'm just taking a stab at this total. Honestly, we won't have a total for this game until probably 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Got to always deal with Wrigley wind. Didn't think that there was going to be anything crazy. It's Jose Quintana and Homer Bailey. If the total really is 9 as of right now, I have the Cubs as my number 4 stack. I have the A's as my number 5 stack. We touched on it a lot today on the strategy show and throughout some of the other shows. The A's have been fantastic against lefties. They don't strike out. They hit with a ton of power. They've been way above average. So I really like the A's again today. Took Matt Chapman as my dong pick. We'll see where that shakes out, but I want to get all of the righties for the A's. No doubt about it. From the Cubs perspective, though, Homer Bailey, just not a great pitcher. The Cubs have a ton of talent up and down the lineup. Really going to be targeting Cubs bats. I can't really complain about anything other than Caratini and Tony Kemp. So 1 through 6, Hayward, Castellanos, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber. I'm stacking those guys up any sort of way that I can get them. Nobody with a crazy price tag outside of Baez at 5,100, but I don't mind paying that for one of the best shortstops on the planet. The rest of the guys are in the mid-4s. They're easy to stack up, and I expect offense to be my favorite thing in this game. Dodgers and Cardinals, 4.6 run implied total for the Dodgers, 4 for the Cardinals, 57% chance to win for the Dodgers. Dustin May, a.k.a. Ginger Guard, back on the hill for LA. Jack Flaherty going for the Cardinals. You know, it's a tough spot to want to recommend Dodgers here. They're at home, so the lefty power will play a little bit, but Flaherty's just not a guy that gets touched up. If you want to go to Jock at 4K on DraftKings, 3,400 on FanDuel, I'm cool with it. I don't really mind Muncy. I just really don't see myself stacking up the Dodgers full stop. I do like them a little bit more on the FanDuel early slate where it's just 4 games, but for me, I just think that I'll be able to get better bats elsewhere. Well, I'll be able to get more efficient bats elsewhere. It's going to be hard to find better bats than the Dodgers. And then from the Cardinals side, I don't really need to target against Ginger Guard. He's a fantastic prospect. The Cardinals offense hasn't been all that great all year. They are 9th in terms of my stack rankings. I do like Matt Carpenter now that he is back at the top of the order. Dexter Fowler, if he's hitting from the left side, is not that appealing, but 2,700 on FanDuel. I just don't expect to be stacking up the Cardinals. And then finally, Giants and Nats in San Francisco. A little bit of a coin flip game. 4.5 runs for both teams. Sean Anderson and Joe Ross. This would be a spot that I would love to target from an offense perspective. Washington should blast Sean Anderson, particularly the lefties, so Eaton, Soto, Adams. On the opposite side, Joe Ross should get blasted by everybody. The problem is the Giants don't have an everybody. So Brandon Belt looks great, but it's really difficult for me to want to target offense in San Francisco. It's just not that kind of a place. Giants are my second worst stack, only ahead of the Marlins. Nats come in 10th. I'm much more likely to be using Eaton, Soto, and Adams. In particular, Soto and Adams as some one-offs coming from this lineup. Not that I'm ever upset taking Rendon, let me be clear here, or Trey Turner in the leadoff spot, but I just don't like stacking in San Francisco. It's a place where balls go to die. Home runs are really difficult to come by, and that's really what I'm looking for to try to win the GPP. Pitchers and up and down, 9 games up, 9 games down. Ripped through all of it, 28 minutes. I will take it. Solo Josh, miss this stuff. I'll give you the plugs from before. Early Bird is the promo code if you want to get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Use that code when signing up. You can use it on any package, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. And once again, shout out to our sponsor, Yahoo Sports. Check out EMAC Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article. Any one from any day will work, but check out the most recent one. Check out the one that he puts out for Wednesday's slate. You'll find a paragraph at the top detailing how you can sign up for Yahoo using the promo code AWESEMO to get yourself $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Whew, and I am done. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope your Tuesday slate is going well. Mine is not, now that the Indians game has been postponed. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I hope everything goes well for everybody. Best of luck tonight. Best of luck on Wednesday if you're listening to this in the morning. Enjoy your coffee and your commute to work. I'll talk to you guys later. Adios.